Okay, great. Yeah. So the first cheese that we are pairing today is our Marisa. So this is a great example of one of Sid's many American original cheeses. So this one is named after his daughter, Marisa. We've been making this cheese for over 10 years. And at the time, obviously, his daughter was an early teenager. And so he would describe this cheese as sweet and rambunctious. Now he likes to joke that it's a little bit more mature now. But we really like this one just because it is such a nice, just mellow sweetness from the sheep milk. You get a slight melon flavor with this one as well. And there's a lot of different things that you can do with this product. We use this on a lot of pairings, and we also work with a lot of chefs on different recipe ideas with this product because it melts really well, it pairs really well with everything. So our thought process behind pairing this one is, we need to match it with something that is also kind of mellow, so nothing overtakes that sweetness. But we found that pairing it with the oatcake biscuit actually brought in a little bit more of the saltiness and the like tanginess of the Marisa, which typically you don't really get as much when you're having it alone. So we actually thought it worked really well together.
Thank you. I loved this cheese. I love any type of sheep's cheese. It's my favorite, and you don't see it all that often. And I loved how it went with the toastiness of the grains of the oat, and just the layerings of the oat and the butter of the oat cake.
Well, the oat cake happens to be my mother's recipe from Nova Scotia. It was a family recipe, as all oat cakes are. And many families up there have their own version of an oat cake, but this is my mother's version that I grew up with as a child and was my favorite food. It's a great go-to biscuit, not a sweet cookie, not a cracker, this nice in between that hits perfectly any time of day. So when Irene and I got together back in 2007 to launch the company, I knew we wanted to start with my mother's oat cake recipe. And from there, we then expanded the line with similar products that were lightly sweet biscuits, toasted grains, very wholesome. And the nice thing is that I will take a cheese like this cheese, as you said, is really creamy and mild, even, with the sheep's milk. And it just sort of takes it to another level of tasting. It's not just sort of having it whether plain or whatever, but it just makes it a more distinct pairing, and it sort of highlights various aspects of the cheese or the biscuit, and they come in at different times. So I thought that was really fun and a really fun pairing. The jam, Bonnie, as always, the apricot jam is beautiful. It's this is a nice soft pairing all around, so I don't know what you're thinking there. I thought it was delish.
My first introduction to Effie's was the oat cake, and I loved it. It was wasn't a cracker, it wasn't a cookie, and it was just perfect with some of my jams and cheese. And the Marisa cheese was really interesting because it is that nice creaminess of sheep's milk. So I thought that the apricot orange would be really good with that, and it turned out to be. The apricot orange is made with whole Valencia oranges, and it's interesting that Joan that I went back to her. No, Joan, I'm sorry, went back to her mother with this recipe because the Valencia oranges that are used in this apricot jam is the orange that I grew up with. I lived in the middle of an orange grove, and we had lots of oranges and apricots. And so somehow we came up with this mixture of apricots and oranges. So these are both childhood memories of these flavors. And putting them with the sheep's milk would just seem to be just perfect because you have this rounded out of the flavor. You have this creaminess with a little hint of something sparkly. and then the oatcake, which has a wonderful, rich flavor. So the whole thing comes together. This is one of my, well, maybe they're all going to be favorite pairings, but this was really a surprise and delicious.
We have Marisa, the oatcakes, and Bonnie's apricot orange. So I agree with you. I think that, you know, the flavor characteristics of all these, the creaminess of the cheese, I just love how much cream is in this, and which attributes to a lot of the buttery flavors. So buttery, but there's also a little bit of tang in here. So I think that the citrus and the apricot really work well with this, but having the oatcake in there, you know, the oatcake has just a little bit of saltiness. You know, one of the things that I love about all your biscuits is that they have sweet and salt. You can taste just enough of that salt that just really works well with the palate. And this is just a fabulous pairing by putting all these together. So, you know, I've been, this is like my third excursion into these flavors, doing our first ones, doing the second one, and then, of course, today I get to enjoy that. You did a good job of pairing, all of you. Thank you. All right.